Hey there folks, this is Dmcjediman and welcome back to my channel. And this is the long-awaited third episode for a series that I haven't done an episode of for over a year now. That's right, it's finally the return of Dmcjediman's Collectables Corner. I've got a whole bunch of stuff to show off here. Hopefully we'll get to all of it in an hour and a half. You know, I've got stories behind some things, or just why I've got certain things in my collection. Before we start with the first item though, don't forget, if you like my content, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to stay notified when I upload. Check out my gaming channel sometime if you like video game Let's Plays. And feel free to follow Dmcjediman's den on social media. I'm currently on Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and Blue Sky. Links, as always, are in the description below. They may not be clickable for a while because YouTube needs to verify I'm a real channel, and the only way I can do that is by waiting a couple months while they gather data, so unfortunately links aren't clickable at the moment, but hopefully they eventually will be. Anyway, with that said, let's start off with this little guy. What we have here is a vintage Transformers DeLorean. Now, I believe this little guy's name was Swindle, or Swindler. Obviously a jab at John DeLorean. See if I can get him to transform here. It's been a while. I usually keep him in car form, because, you know, A, I really like DeLoreans, and B, if I wanted a robot form DeLorean, there is a Back to the Future one, but that's what he looks like. I believe he was part of the Changelings line, but I could be wrong. I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to Transformers. It actually took quite a while for me to get this little guy for my collection, but obviously I have one now. He is very, very, very cool. Okay. Gotta figure out where to put things. I guess the smallest items will set there. Keeping with pretty small items, we have here an Ecto 1A. This is specifically the Fujifilm Ecto 1A you could get with specially marked packages of Fujifilm. I remember begging my parents to get one of these, you know, back in the day. They didn't because they were so expensive, and I remember I threw a tantrum in the store. Obviously this is molded after the Kenner Ecto, you know, but it does have the updated roof rack. It's pretty hard to see, but the signboard says we're back on both sides. It also has the radar dish, which actually rotates. You know, these are getting harder and harder to find, but love having it. I wish they had actually done the caution striping on these. You know, one of these days I might even invest in getting another one just to customize it so it looks the part. But very cool vintage Ghostbusters piece. Up next, we have a stonefish. Now, this is a replica of one of the most venomous fish in the world. It has 13 dorsal spines that if you step on one, you're gonna wish that you die, and a lot of people got their wish from this guy. You know, needless to say, he looks like a rock, so, you know, you're walking along and you might not know until it's too late. They're native to Australia. Of course, Australia, where everything wants to kill you. You know, I've always been fascinated by the stonefish. I actually went to the Boston Aquarium back when I was young, took pictures of the stonefish there, but unfortunately I no longer have those pictures. But I believe this is one of the very few replicas ever made of this guy. It might even be a custom, but I had to have it. I actually keep this in my Clive Cussler display, since that's a nice place to show it off. Alright, up next we have a Goonies ice cream container. Now, obviously, no ice cream in it. This was put out years ago. I want to say in 2021 it says, by Serendipity. The flavor itself is called Sloth and Chunk Rocky Road. Rocky Road with a question mark. I thought this was pretty cool. The ice cream was okay. Nothing really to write home about. Since that's light, I can toss that over there. Move on to one of the bigger items now. What we got here is the Bandai Dragon Ball Z Super Battle Collection Super Saiyan Vegito figure. Now this figure is the gold hair version, as it says on there, and it is Super Vegito. It was sealed when I bought it. I actually opened it up just to put his shirt on, because I didn't like that the shirt came packaged separately. It's like, if I want to display this guy, I want people to be able to see right off the bat that it's Vegito. I also have the Super Saiyan 3 Goku one. Don't know what all that's about. It's got some pitting on the back. This has been hung on my wall for a while now. Anyway, though, cool figure. Got that from a local shop. Okay, I'll show this off next. This is an Arc Almirola 43 hat, and this has a very cool story attached to it. It's actually a story I told in my most recent episode of NASCAR Heat 4, but I forgot to put the picture up. I'm not going to forget to put the picture up here, but I was at my local mall, and a truck drove by that was painted like Arc Almirola's Smithfield 43 car. So, being a huge Petty fan, I had to chase it down to get pictures. Turns out the guy was a Smithfield representative, and seeing how much love and support I had for Petty in the 43, he reached into his truck and pulled this out and gave it to me. Needless to say, I've kept it safe and in my collection ever since. I've worn it a few times in support. Definitely a very cool experience, though. And keeping on the Petty clothes trend, I'll show this one off. Now, as you may be able to tell, this has seen far better days. This is a vintage Richard Petty Bobby Hamilton STP 25th anniversary shirt. Now, this is vintage from when I was a kid, with all the rips and tears that being me as a kid and as an adult, tend to make on things. Now, one of the reasons I've kept it all these years, and it's very hard to see now, I wish I had stopped wearing it after it happened, but it was signed by Harry Gant. And I always thought that was so cool that Harry Gant would sign a shirt of a different race driver and team. I have other Harry Gant autographs in my collection, but obviously this one means the most since I met him in person, and he, signed it right on my shoulder. Next up, I'm going to talk about the first of a few items that I'm showing off, but I'm not putting in front of me, because I had about 6 or 7 things that either were hung on the wall in places where I didn't really want to try and get them down, or in the case of a Lego set, I didn't want to risk damaging it trying to get it down. So I guess first I'll talk about a duo of Maurice LaMarche signed Egon Spengler Real Ghostbusters pics. Now these are 8x10. I got them hand signed by Maurice LaMarche at a convention I went to. The first one I'm showing here was an 8x10 I got developed. It's actually a comic book cover from IDW's not Real Ghostbusters, Although it might have been from the Ghostbusters Get Real sub-series, or it might have just been a Real Ghostbusters variant cover, but either way, it had the 4 Ghostbusters in the Ecto, so I got that made as an 8x10 picture, and I had Maurice sign it, you know, and he signs it, and he's like, how's that? And shows it to me. I'm like, well, that would be very good if my name was Dan. Turns out that with all the loudness of the convention, he misheard me say Stan as Dan. So he fudged it to make it look like it said Stan, but that wasn't quite good enough for him. So he took one of his pictures off of his table, signed that one correctly to me. So I have 2 Maurice LaMarche Egon Spangler pictures, and I shall cherish them both. So, yeah, I met him at Boston Fan Expo back in, I want to say it was either 2018 or 2019, since those were the only 2 years I ever made it there. I think it was 2018 though, because I think Frank Welker was at the 2019 one. Keeping on the signed pics, I'll mention 2 other ones real quick that I took pictures of. I've got this one. This is a Michael Bell signed Quackerjack image. Now, this is Michael Bell, of course, voiced Quackerjack in Darkwing Duck. He's also done a lot of other voices, but Quackerjack's, of course, the one I need to get. I got that through V-Shout signing. He also, you know, did a greeting for me as Quackerjack, which I still have. I may or may not play that here. I haven't decided yet. I'll probably decide in editing, but just in case, let me leave about 20 seconds here silent for it, starting now.
Stan, this is Quackerjack. It's playtime, Stan! Okay, and here's me again.
Okay, I think that's long enough for the clip. If not, I might split it to put the clip in and then continue. But anyway, the third image here is a Rob Paulson signed Steelbeak picture from Darkwing Duck. Now, I actually met Rob at the aforementioned the Boston Fan Expo. When I met him, though, I kind of spaced that he was Steelbeak and Darkwing Duck, so I actually got my Ninja Turtle picture signed, which, for anyone wondering why I'm not showing that off, it's because currently it's signed by 3 of the 4 turtles. And if things work out, I'm eventually going to get it signed by the 4th one. And once it's signed by all 4, or if the one I'm waiting on passes and I can't get it signed by him, then I'll show it in whatever episode of this series is up then. But luckily for me, I know someone that goes to quite a few conventions. They actually went to a convention where he was, and I put the picture together, emailed the file to him to get made as an 8x10. He got it signed, and after a long delay, finally sent it to me. But it's up there in my Darkwing Duck collection, and I think it's pretty cool that I actually have a Steelbeak pic signed by him. Okay, let me start showing off some more items. Actually, speaking of signed items that I got from that guy, I guess I'll show this one off next. So the same friend I bought this from. Now this is a Jason David Frank signed Tommy Green Ranger Funko Pop. Now this is the Galactic Toys Collectables exclusive version. Now my buddy's not a Power Ranger fan. He was actually there with a friend of his getting it signed, and of course JDF being the way he was, after signing the things for his friend, he's like, hey, you gonna get any autographs? And my friend said they hadn't planned on it. JDF, pulled this pop out, signed it for him. I think he signed a Legend of the White Dragon card as well and gave them to him. Of course, for the longest time it was in my friend's collection, but like I said, he doesn't really care about Power Rangers, so the opportunity actually came for me to to acquire it from him, which I would only do if he would remove the personalization, because my friend knows a way to do that, which is why you'll notice that there's a slight smudge right above the name. That's where it originally said to Will. Well, I guess I just mentioned my friend's name, although I ain't going to mention his last name, so only the people who actually know me and know which Will I'm talking about will know which Will it was. But, you know, it is JSA certed, you know, but being the huge Tommy Oliver Green Ranger fan I am, obviously it's found a good home. And I guess with Funkos, I'll show off this one next. This is the GameStop limited edition glow-in-the-dark Megavolt Chase Pop from Darkwing Duck. Now, I wish I could say I have a whole Darkwing Duck Pop collection. I mean, I have Dazzle and Launchpad, Darkwing, you know, both Megavolts. I believe I have Negatron and, you know, maybe a Negaduck. I can't remember if I actually got, like, I think I got the regular Negaduck. But it's like, I didn't get the newer version of Darkwing or Negaduck that they did. And obviously I didn't get any of the NFT release ones, which was Quackerjack, Liquidator, and maybe it was just Quackerjack and Liquidator. Yeah, I think so. I don't think we've gotten a Bush Root yet, so we still don't have the whole Fearsome 5, but I will eventually get a Quackerjack. He hovers between 50 to 100, so he's obtainable. I'm probably never going to own a Liquidator. They're between $200 to $500. I can't afford to spend that for a Funko Pop. I wish I could, but up next, we have the movie edition Christine novel by Stephen King. Now, this is the specific version that was printed to release with the movie. It has a inset of pages with images from the film. Yeah, Christine's one of my favorite movies. In fact, me and a buddy were quoting it earlier today. I'm sure he's watching. Hi, Adam. One of these days, though, I got a second copy of that. One of these days, I want to get one of them signed by King. Up next, we got some video game love. This is one of my favorite video games of all time. Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury for the Game Boy Advance. I have replayed this game quite a few times. In fact, one of these days, if I get a way to play Game Boy games, or Game Boy Advance games, where they can be displayed on my TV and captured by my capture card, I will most likely play this game for my channel. Probably won't do the other Legacy of Goku games just because I didn't really care for them very much, but Boo's Fury, probably because I love the Boo saga, holds a special place in my heart. Next up, this is the pink Darkwing plush. Now, this little guy is from the Disney on Ice. You know, a member of the St. Canard Files group, Michelle, I believe, was the first one to alert us to its existence, and obviously it was only a matter of time before I tracked one down for myself, but definitely a cool little plush to have. You know, I've got the original Darkwing plush too, the one they call Lemon Beak. I don't have the Funko plush yet. I'll get him someday though. But while we're on the topic of plushes, I'll show this guy off too. This is the Build-A-Bear Green Ranger plush with the Dragon Dagger accessory. Now, I actually got one of these plushes before. Didn't have, you know, the tags of the dagger. I'd gotten it for a pretty cheap price. And then I managed somehow to actually win this one for an insanely good price. It's got all the tags still on it, you know. Like, it's probably the perfect Green Ranger Build-A-Bear plush for a collection. I've been displaying him proudly with the rest of my Green Rangers. Toss him over there. Yeah, I'm just tossing things that are light over there because I've got plenty of heavier things I'm not going to toss over there. Next up, show this off. This is a vintage 1981 Dukes of Hazzard watch. Now, this was released when the TV show was big. I actually was given this by my friend Pat many years ago. You know, definitely a cool little display piece to have. You know, really gotta love the car, the General Lee. 69 Chargers are awesome. Up next, we have a sealed package of the real Ghostbusters Puffy stickers. Now, these would have been released in probably 1986. In terms of the stickers, you got the Ghostbusters logo, Egon, Ray, Winston, Peter, Janine Melnitz, and the full real Ghostbusters logo. Overall, cool little piece. You know, definitely happy to have it. The only thing that would have made this even better is if, in exchange for either the full real Ghostbusters or the logo there, if they'd had the Ecto-1. Up next, we have I'm not sure if this is Japanese or Chinese, DVD copy of Back to the Future Part 3. Yeah, I collect all sorts of physical media. You know, whenever I can get something new to my collection, even if it's a movie I have 100 times, it's like, ooh, but I don't have this version in French. You know, so I just gotta get them. Can't really watch it, but then I've got enough copies of Back to the Future 3 to watch however I want without needing it. Next up, we'll show this off. Let me just wipe it down a little. Some of the things are a little dusty. You know, when you have as much as I do, it's hard to keep things clean sometimes. This is a Universal Studios Back to the Future DeLorean diecast. This is probably the first Back to the Future DeLorean diecast ever produced. You know, I actually had one of these when I was a kid too. You know, needless to say though, I didn't take care of it, as with a lot of things I had, so later in life I had to get a new copy. Guess I'll show these next. A pair of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers cassette tapes. Now, first off, we have the Rock Adventure album. Now, I desperately want to get this on CD, but having the cassette tape is decent enough in terms of the tracks on here. The first side has the long version of Go Go Power Rangers, Fight, Lord Zed, Hey Rita, We Need a Hero, and Combat. Side 2 kicks off with a bang with Go Green Ranger Go, 541, Zords, I Will Win, Go Go Power Rangers TV version, and White Ranger Tiger Power. Now this was, I believe this was done in like a story version, so there were inner bits of audio from the TV show cycled in. And then I also have this Power Rangers on Fins and Needles cassette. You know, obviously I'm partial to this one with the Green Ranger. This was an adventure cassette with 3D sound. I'm pretty sure that the story is the fight against the slippery shark, where Jason and Tommy are made to be jealous of each other. And this actually came with some of those signed Power Ranger cards, including the Green Ranger card. Continuing with the cassette tapes, I'll show this one off next. This is a Dukes of Hazzard soundtrack. In terms of the songs on here, it has Good Old Boys, The General Lee, Laughing All the Way to the Bank, Up on Cripple Creek, Cover Girl Eyes, In the Driver's Seat, Flash, Down Home American Girl, Doolin' Dukes, Keep Between Them Ditches, and The Ballad of the General Lee. Just checking to see if there was any imagery inside. And finishing up the cassette tapes, I guess, we'll show this. This is kind of infamous. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Coming Out of Their Shells cassette. Definitely interesting point in the Ninja Turtles things. You had Leonardo on bass guitar, Michelangelo on lead guitar, Donatello on keyboards, and Raphael on saxophone. In terms of the songs they had Coming Out of Our Shells, Sing About It, Tubin', Skipping Stones, Pizza Power, Walk Straight, No Treaties, Cowabunga, April Ballad, and Count on Us. Alright, next up, this is a little bit of a recent addition to the collection. By recent, I mean last year, but this is an official Hallmark ornament of Stephen King's Christine. How cool is that? The only thing that would have made this even cooler is if it either had lights or sound, but to be honest, I never expected we would get a Christine ornament, you know, ever. Next up, I'm going to talk about a couple animated cells. First up is this. This is a Back to the Future the Animated Series cell. Now this is one of two I have. I also have one of Doc individually, which now that I think about it, I think I'm going to show that one too, so I'll have to remember to take a picture after. But I got both those from my friend Pat in a deal that also netted me the original NECA Back to the Future figures. And then we also have a vintage Ewok cell. Now this is the character Milani from the Ewoks cartoon show from the 80s. You know, very cool piece, you know, very happy to have those in my collection. And I'm going to show off one more big thing here that I don't have in front of me. Now this is, for lack of a better term, the Ultimate Collector Series Lego Ecto-1. Now this thing is massive. I want to say it's like 2.5 feet long, you know, like about yay big, huge car. It was styled after Ghostbusters Afterlife, so it has, you know, stickers that simulate rust. It has a working gunner seat, you know, opening hood with a detailed engine, steerable front wheels. You know, really cool piece. I'm going to pop up some of the pictures that I took of it when I finished building it. You know, obviously the first picture I showed is where it is on the shelf now, but, you know, with it there I can't really get access to take a lot of good detailed pictures of her. But it took a long time to build, you know, had to rebuild a couple parts of it because I found out later in the build, oh, I screwed up on something, this doesn't fit. Take apart back to where I screwed up. But that's kind of what happens a lot with Lego builds. Okay, let's see, next. I guess I'll show this off next. What we have here is a vintage 1989 Back to the Future lunchbox and thermos. Yep, the complete set. Now, obviously, it's styled on Back to the Future Part 2 with the Flying DeLorean, plus the fact it came out in '89. Really cool piece, though. I think this is the only Back to the Future lunchbox made back in the day. Like, obviously, nowadays there's more Back to the Future lunchboxes, but back then, this, I believe, was your only option. I guess we'll show off this big guy. This is a vintage Star Wars Imperial Royal Guard helmet. I believe this is Don Post Studios. I'm just trying to look. Yep, Don Post. You know, now this is usually a pretty pricey piece. I actually got it for a fraction of the price because it's missing its visor there, and it's got a crack in the helmet up here, but a very, very cool piece. I do plan someday to see about fixing it up a bit. You know, I'd like to, at minimum, get the crack repaired. You know, at maximum, get a replacement visor put in, but really cool piece. Hold on, I'm going to have to take my glasses off to try this. Oh, who goes there? Whew, my head is almost way too big to fit in there, by the way. Next up, I'll show these guys off. Now, what we have here is a pair of vintage Marvel Toy Biz figures from the mid-90s. Venom and Carnage. My two favorite characters, well, two of my three favorite characters in Marvel Comics. But I'd say they're probably the two favorite. The third one probably does rank third, but, you know, really cool figures. The only thing that'd be even cooler is if, you know, if they had removable masks. I know the Carnage one doesn't. I thought the Venom one was the one, but anytime I tried to take the head off, it looked like it wouldn't budge, and I don't want to risk... Like, I know I have a Venom figure of this size that has Eddie Brock's head, but I don't think this is the one. I wish they had made a Carnage one like that, but it's two really cool figures to have in the collection. Guess I'll show this guy off next. Oh, this guy's heavy. This is the McFarlane Batman the Animated Series Batmobile. And it is huge. This is created for, I want to say, the 6-inch figure line. It has an opening cockpit. Let's see if I can show that off a little bit. Now, it does have lights. I don't think it has sounds, but I don't think I have batteries currently. Oh, I take it back. The batteries are still in it. I'm going to have to take them out after, because I don't turn this on very often. But as you can see, it has a very impressive set of lights. I actually got this for super cheap. Like, we're talking about 40 bucks. Okay, next up, let's go back to showing some of these smaller items. We have a Brian O'Halloran signed VHS of Clerks. I actually got this, well, I got it signed at Vermont Comic Con. I actually own the tape myself, but, you know, I love the quote, "I'm 37?" He was a cool guy. And I am not going to toss that one for fear of damaging it. Next up, I'll show this off. This is a vintage Darkwing Duck switch plate for a light switch. Yeah, back in the day, they would make so many things. Just slap a character on it, logos, and call it a day. That's how we got such weird things like a Darkwing Duck switch plate. One of, like, if it weren't sealed, I'd probably have used it in my apartment, but since it is sealed, it just hangs on the wall. Next up, we have a pair of video games. Tomba and Tomba 2, Return of the Evil Swine. Now, I was enamored with these games because back when I first got a PlayStation, I got one of those demo discs that had like the first level of Tomba, and I played that so much. I enjoyed the heck out of it. So needless to say, when I got old enough to try and, track down Tomba, I was pretty disappointed to find out that they were very expensive games. So imagine my surprise when I'm at the Stowe Car Show and a guy there selling vintage PlayStation games for $5 a piece, and both of these are there. It's like, yep, those are mine. I am buying those. I am walking out before anyone can say, hey, wait a minute, those are expensive games, not $5. I don't know if either of these work, but even if they don't, I just like to have them in my collection. I'm actually going to be purchasing the special edition of Tomba for the PS4 in another month or so, I'll be able to play that. Again, like I had them on the PS3, but my PS3 don't work, so. Anyway, up next we have a Girls and Panzer manga, Volume 2. Now, normally there'd be nothing overly special about this other than that it's Girls and Panzer and it kicks ass, but the voice actress behind one of the characters was actually at Bakuretsu-Con, and since I just started getting into the series, I wanted to get something signed, but I couldn't find a DVD there. But I did find this, so she actually signed, her, right by an image of her character on one of the splash pages. So, that is pretty awesome. Toss that to there. Next up, we'll show this guy off. Now this is original. This is the Kenner Ecto 1A along with the 4 original Kenner Real Ghostbusters figures. We got Ray Stans on the gunner seat, got Winston Zedmore in the driver's seat, Peter Venkman riding shotgun, and in the back, if we can get the back door open, we got Egon Spengler just kind of chilling back here. Now, one thing you may notice about this, though, is the stickers are slightly better condition than they should be. And that is because the stickers are repo stickers. I did originally, put the original stickers on this, but they peeled off. So, because of that, I needed to add some stickerage to it, so I got a set of repo stickers. Now, one thing you may notice is, aside from one splatter of pink slime, I kept my Ecto 1A mostly pink slime free. It's also the reason why I didn't put the Real Ghostbusters logo up there, and why I actually cut a special bit of caution striping to put on the back there. I wanted this to be as close to a Real Ghostbusters Ecto 1A as I could get. Also with him is this little companion ghost that came with the Ecto 1A, but we're not done showing off the Ecto 1A, because as I stated, this is an original, and part of the original packaging is the original box. That's right. Check that out. The original Ecto 1A box. Now, this was a Christmas gift from my mom. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, yep, the inside here are the original sticker sheets that are sticking together now a bit. But as you can see, I still have the ghosts on board. I break for ghosts, the circles, and the real Ghostbuster sticker there. Oh, okay, this is potentially bad. Okay, so there's the slime stickers and the original manual that's now got some blemishes on the back because of those stickers. So feel like I saw a comic book bag and board up here. I did see a comic book bag and board. I am going to put this in there, and then I'm going to put this sticker sheet in the other side, and that will at least protect two of the three things. And if I find a third one, I'll put that in too, but I am not taking any extra chances with that. Let's see, do I have another one up here? If not, I'll hunt one down after, which it looks like I'll have to hunt one down after. Still, glad I discovered that there. Okay, next up I'll show off this duo. So, this here is the Thad Moffat Petty 75th Anniversary truck. Now, this is a throwback that was run last year. That was a throwback to Bobby Hamilton's STP 25th Anniversary silver car that was driven in '96. But the coolest thing about this is on the back there. That is a list of names. People who either paid to have their name on this truck, or in the case of me, someone that got very lucky that someone really nice and awesome paid to have my name on the truck. And thus, my name is on the diecast. Just trying to look and see. It's hard for me to see where it is here. Okay. So, I don't think it's going to be... Actually, I know it's not possible, so I'm just going to flash a photo up with my name circled on it. But, you know, I imagine if I could find a microscope big enough, I'd be able to read my name on this one too, because the names are on the back of the small one too, but obviously I had to get at least a big version of this. And eventually, I'm going to have this signed by Thad, you know, to make it even more special. Alright, next up, we have a vintage Mask Thunderhawk. Now, this, I was obsessed with this car back in the 90s, because I always thought that it was a DeLorean. I mean, it had the gull-wing doors. It has a somewhat similar shape. Like, I could easily view somebody getting this, painting it silver, and then adding the time machine bits, and you have like a vintage DeLorean toy. You know, it does have a figure in the driver's seat. I don't know if the figure that I have in mind is the correct one. Oh, okay, the doors don't seem to want to shut anymore. Okay, well that's that one shut. I mean, for the longest time they've been open, so I guess it stands to reason. There we go. But then at the press of a button, okay. Well, again, it's old enough that you gotta expect some things don't want to work quite right anymore. Either way, really cool piece. Very happy to have it. Next up, I'll show these off. This is a vintage Titanic mint tin. Now, I believe the art on the front is one of Ken Marshall's paintings. I also think this came out in the late 90s. Looking to see if I can find a 1999. Yeah, I remember when these were when these came out. I never bought them just because, you know, at the time I didn't have money to buy, you know, a tin of mints. I was just going to dump the mints out because I don't like mint. Thankfully, in later years, I found one used somewhere without the mints. Alright, next up, we have a pair of comic books. Now, this first one is the first appearance of my third favorite Marvel character, the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Also showing off is her first issue of her very own series, The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. You know, I always thought she was awesome. She kicks all the ass. I mean, she's beaten Thanos. She's beaten Galactus. Like, how can you not love that? Next up, we have a vintage 1994, I believe, Green Ranger beeper. Who here remembers beepers? Now, I think this works. It doesn't have batteries in it right now, obviously, but I'm pretty sure I did test this out after I got it, and it does make the sounds. Of course, it has the weird dragon coin on the front instead of the correct Green Ranger coin. That was a big problem Green and White Ranger merch back in the day had, where they'd always have the wrong symbol. Speaking of the Green and White Rangers, though, next up, the Legacy Green Ranger Morpher. Now, this is the actual Legacy Morpher. Pops open. Obviously, I've got no batteries in it at the moment. You know, obviously, I've got this one displayed with the Dragon Zord coin in it. Seeing as how I, you know, love Green Ranger, obviously anything I have that can have a Green Ranger display option is usually what I have done, but I'm actually lucky enough to have two of these. So, I got one with the White Ranger's coin in it too. Now, it's the exact same thing, you know, opens up, same as the other, although, as I just found out, the coin, she don't want to stay in, apparently. Okay, well, that time it stayed in, but either way, you know, it's really cool to have two of these morphers, because these are two of the most highly desired morphers ever. Well, I should say this is the most highly desired morpher ever. At least at the moment. I think eventually the Master Morpher may end up being more desired. You know, and I may show that off eventually too. The only reason I didn't show it off this time is because I did an entire unboxing when I got that. But it'll probably show up eventually. Next up, I'll show this off. This is a vintage Playmates Sea Duck Tailspin Airplane. Now, it's nearly complete. I say nearly because it is missing the other one of these. But it still has the little cloud surfing hatch there. It's still got the landing gear. both pontoons, and the hatch opens, and I actually have the Funko Baloo figure that's inside, since that's the more accurate, you know, show Baloo. But Tailspin was such an awesome series, and I still can't believe I ended up with the Sea Duck. This is probably one of the two most sought-after Tailspin toys. The other one probably being Don Carnage's Triplane, which someday maybe I'll try and get. Anyway, from one flying item to another, if I can pick this up in a way where it doesn't fall. This is the original Sunstar Back to the Future DeLorean. Now, obviously, mine has seen a lot of wear and tear over the years. It's not even connected to this base here, so we can take it out. The box is the original box for this, you know, missing the plastic insert. The stand on the bottom is actually for a Part 3 car, but that's because I had plans of altering it so it'd say Part 2. But as you can see, it's in the flight mode. Ooh. The wheels do still turn up into the driving mode. Definitely very dusty. You know, I've been keeping them in the box lately. As you can see, though, it's not without its battle damage. It's missing its windshield wipers and both side mirrors. Still has Mr. Fusion. You will notice the license plate is actually wrong, though. It says out of time. It should be the barcode license plate. That is what should be on this particular version of the car. Now, this car, well, this diecast, has a lot of meaning for me. This is one of the first two 1/18 scale diecast cars that my father got for me. The other one being the regular DeLorean. And I actually debated on whether I was going to show this off in this episode, the regular DeLorean in this episode, or the Part 3 Railroad DeLorean in this episode, because all three of them have a lot of meaning to me. You know, this and the regular, because they were the first two I had, and Part 3 Railroad, because, you know, Part 3 Railroad's my favorite. Ultimately, I decided on that one. Up next, we have a Jada Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Party Wagon. Now, this is a 1/43 scale Party Wagon replica. You know, fairly show accurate. It's got movable laser cannons, rotating radar dish. Pretty cool. I wish the side opened up, you know, or the roof, but maybe the larger 1/24 scale one does. What next? Oh yes, those will be next. We're down to the last few items. I thought this episode was going to go a bit longer than it has. Okay, so what we have here is the two Jada Transformers crossover diecast. Now, up first, we have Optimus Prime painted as the Ecto-1. Now, this has opening doors. And I think that's the only feature that the Optimus really has. Although, if you stand it up like this, it transforms into robot mode. Now, obviously, you know, it's a neat little piece. You know, the green headlights are a cool touch, but honestly, I wasn't quite as impressed with the Optimus version. And when you see the Ecto-1, you'll understand why, because this is the Ecto-1 painted in Optimus Prime's colors, and it looks so much better. I mean, you got the blue tail fins, the blue headlights really make this pop. The silver stripe on the front's cool, and in terms of features, you got opening front doors, both of them. You got the rear door that opens. Let's see if I can actually get it open. I don't have nails. No. That's the DBZ abridged reference for anyone that gets it. Come on, you almost got yourself there. Okay, let's see. Ooh, I might be able to get this open with this if I'm careful. There we go. I wanted to be very careful. I do not want to damage this. So yeah, the back door opens as I've just demonstrated. And the hood opens. So you got all of these extra opening features, and the paint job, I think, pops better on this one. It's one of the reasons why, I really want to find the 143 of this one for sure. If I found the 143 of the truck, I'd probably get it. Maybe. I don't know. Ugh. Actually, I'm going to wait on showing that for just a moment, because I have one more thing that I haven't shown off that I don't have down here with me. Now, this is a Chewbacca figure that's signed by Peter Mayhew. Now, I got this from a local shop. For the longest time, I was convinced that it was a fake signature, So I kept it because it's like, well, it's still a sealed Chewie figure, and I did pay, like $70 to $80 for it. But, the last year or so, I stumbled across someone who was inquiring about a signature that looked just like mine, and everyone was mentioning how apparently it was real. It was an older way that Mayhew had signed. It's like, no shit, that means mine's probably real. So I actually have a signed Peter Mayhew Chewbacca, and that is awesome. Anyway, the last item I have here is one of the things I considered to be one of my holy grails. This is the reference book, Star Wars Chronicles, by Deborah Fine. This is a book that I actually had a friend of mine buy for me as my 3,000th Star Wars book. And boy, is it chock full of anything you could ever hope to be in here. We got, costumes, props, paintings, models, concept art. It's all here. The holiday special. Like Boba Fett, and it goes film by film. So like this one starts with Star Destroyer Mark II. Got the Wampa, the Super Star Destroyer Executor. Like, it just has everything. Goes through Jedi. It is a very heavy book. It is definitely, though, what I'd consider the pinnacle of Star Wars reference guides. We got stuff on the Ewok movies, Star Tours. Like, if you love Star Wars and you love books, this is the Star Wars book. It is the big one that I wanted desperately to have as my 3,000th. There is a sequel to this book, Star Wars Chronicles 2, the prequels. I do have it, but I honestly thought the original was far more impressive than the sequel, which is why I showed that. Huh. We actually made it through everything in about an hour. Like, I sincerely thought it was going to be an hour and a half at least. But I hope everyone enjoyed going through everything with me. I will be back with another episode of this, hopefully sooner than another full year. Like, it won't be obviously right after, but I'm going to try and get like a new episode out every 6 to 8 months. But until next time, this has been DMCJediman, and I am signing off. Peace, everybody.